You have read it your whole life, repeating it over and over like a habit passed down from one generation to the next. But no one ever taught you this. You think you understand every word, every sound, every sentence of that familiar prayer. But in truth, what you know is only the outer shell. Beneath the layer of words you say each day lies something no one has told you, something no pastor has mentioned, something no doctrine has explained, and something no Bible class has dared to touch. Now, pause for a moment, take a slow breath in, and exhale gently. I want you to listen to this sentence as if it were the first time in your life. The Lord's Prayer is not just a prayer, it is a spiritual technology. Let me say it again, so you can truly feel its weight. The Lord's Prayer is not a set of beautiful sentences for discussion, not a ritual repeated just to be proper, and certainly not a moral lesson. It is an activation map, an ancient design created to awaken the deepest layer within you, the part most of us leave asleep for many years. The prayer you have been reciting since childhood is an inner device, a mechanism of breath, of soul memory, and of your connection to the source of life. But for many reasons, history, religion, politics, and the simplification of rituals, people have forgotten its most powerful dimension. And perhaps, only now, you are finally ready to understand it as it truly is. In the time you spend here with me, it may be 60 minutes. It may be longer, depending on your pace. You will be guided through each layer of that prayer. We will begin with its original Aramaic roots, where words carried not only meaning but also frequency. Then we will explore each sentence and each concept that has been mistranslated through the centuries. And finally, we will uncover how every line was designed to awaken a dimension inside you. By the end, you will not only understand it with your mind, you will feel it with your body. You will know how to use breath, attention, and soul memory, so the prayer becomes a doorway to the kingdom within, the inner kingdom you have heard about many times, but never truly experienced. And beyond understanding, you will have a 30-day plan, step by step, with simple but transformative practices, turning the prayer into a real tool in your daily life. But before we go deeper into this journey, I want you to do one very small thing, a micro-commitment, a mark between you and your own soul. If right now, in just the first few seconds, you feel an unexplainable vibration, a sense of, yes, this is the moment, or even just a slight ache, as if a memory is trying to open, leave exactly one sentence in the comments. I remember. That is all. Not to help the algorithm, not to dress up the video, but so you can declare to yourself that you are ready to open this door. And when you do that, I will send you a free practice guide, the 30-day instruction I mentioned, right in the video description, so you can begin tonight, without waiting. Now, take another deep breath. Hold for 1 second. Exhale slowly. We begin. Perhaps you have felt this before. You are standing in a church or in your family's familiar room, reciting the Lord's Prayer as you always do, your mouth speaking while your heart feels empty. It is not that you lack faith. It is not that you are disrespectful. It is simply that somewhere deep inside, you sense a layer of meaning you have never touched, a missing piece, as if the prayer once carried great power but has somehow become faded, repeated so often that it feels familiar yet hollow. Many people who grew up in religious environments experience this, the sense that something is right but not complete, something is deep but not expressed. Part of this comes from how our culture teaches memorizing, reading, and performing rituals, but rarely teaches feeling, understanding, or internally experiencing the prayer, and this absence makes many people believe something is wrong within themselves, when in reality, the issue lies in how the prayer has been stripped of its true depth. Religion, at its core, always has two sides. One side belongs to tradition, rituals, forms, structures, churches, classes. The other side belongs to inner experience, the part that touches the soul, the place where you feel life stirring gently inside your chest. Tradition gives you a framework, experience gives you truth. Without tradition, a person loses direction. Without experience, a person dries up. The problem is that for many centuries, the balance has leaned heavily toward ritual. And so the Lord's Prayer, which was originally a profound practical teaching of Jesus, became a reading, a memorized text, a religious requirement, rather than a tool for awakening. The purpose of this video is not to oppose religion or dismiss tradition. On the contrary, the purpose is to reopen the door tradition has unintentionally closed, to restore the depth the prayer once held, and to place back into your hands the meaning it was designed to carry thousands of years ago. History, original language, cultural context, and also experience, something you can feel and apply immediately in your life. The way we approach this journey will not be dry preaching, nor vague mysticism. We will begin with the original languages Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek to see how each word once carried more layers than we realize. Then we will place them into the context of ancient Jewish culture, a time when prayers were not meant to be read but practiced as breath, as living memory in the body. After that, we will explore simple meditative practices, breathing, attention, visualization, and sound resonance techniques that Jesus and ancient rabbis used to open the inner depth. And finally, everything will return to personal application. How you bring the kingdom within into your work, your relationships, your decisions, and the ordinary moments of your day. This is not merely an explanation. This is a pathway to feel again, to live again, and to apply again the prayer you thought you already knew. To understand the true nature of the Lord's Prayer, we must return to the moment it was first spoken. Jesus lived in a Jewish context, heavily shaped by Roman influence, where prayer was not just speech, but a sacred form of collective memory. Jewish people did not separate spiritual life from daily life. Prayer was the rhythm of their culture. Rabbis taught not only through words but through practice, breath, posture, cadence, and silence. In that world, prayers served two purposes. First, to connect the individual with the community and with God. Second, to awaken a spiritual state that brought a person back to their path. So, when Jesus taught this prayer, he was not giving a memorization exercise. He was offering a spiritual structure through which anyone could return to direct communion with the source. That is why the prayer appears simple, yet carries immense symbolic power. It was crafted for ordinary people of the time, yet hidden inside it is a depth only those who practiced could feel. An important point to remember is that Jesus did not speak English. He did not say, "Our Father," or "Give us this day our daily bread." The two languages that directly shaped the prayer were Aramaic, his everyday language, and Hebrew, the religious and symbolic language of his people. In Aramaic, the word abun holds far more meaning than father. It includes source, breath, compassion, and creative life force. Hebrew carries a deep symbolic system in which the name of God, YHWH, is a set of 4 consonants that cannot be spoken like ordinary words, but sound more like a breath. When the New Testament was recorded in Greek, many of the vibrational qualities of Aramaic had to be turned into more analytical vocabulary. For example, our in Aramaic was not merely a pronoun but a declaration of connection. Kingdom in Greek, basileia, suggests a political structure, while the original Aramaic referred to a state of the presence of power. Even the word daily in daily bread comes from a strange Greek word epiousios, which appears nowhere else in Greek writings, leaving scholars still debating whether it means for today, for tomorrow, or essential beyond the physical. As the prayer passed through layers of culture, words designed to open intuition were turned into rational, familiar concepts. This created the illusion that we already understand it, when in reality, we have only seen its surface. When Christianity became an organized religion, especially from the Middle Ages onward, the prayer was placed into every formal practice. Church services, morning rituals, evening rituals, catechism classes, and even political ceremonies. The Church needed uniformity, and while this helped preserve the prayer across centuries, it also narrowed its purpose. It turned the prayer into a performance, something to recite correctly, in unison, loud and clear. Subtle layers of breath, resonance, or deep symbolism were removed because they did not fit large institutional rituals. In some periods, even alternative interpretations were considered dangerous, censored, or labeled heretical. Thus, a prayer that was once an inner map became a fixed text, losing the warmth of living experience. As we moved into the modern era, the prayer continued to be taught through read and memorize, because contemporary religious culture values discipline and solemnity more than inner experience. People remember how to recite but forget how to feel. They know the sound but lose the frequency. A major part of the misunderstanding today comes from old inherited translations. Daily Bread assigns to Ipiousios the meaning of for each day, even though the word may refer to nourishment beyond the material realm. The sentence, "Lead us not into temptation," sounds as if God might lead people into temptation, while the Greek word peirasmos is closer to testing, trial, or refining fire. Translation flattened the intuition that Jesus was speaking about an inner process, not a moral rule. When translation becomes simplified, experience becomes simplified. And when people lose the experience, the prayer loses its power to awaken. Because of all that, if we only read the prayer from the current written form, we are only touching a very shallow part. To understand this prayer correctly, faith alone is not enough. We must return to the historical context, the language structure, and the ancient layers of symbolism, and at the same time feel it with the breath and in the silence. The prayer was not created for a mind separated from the rest of the person, but for a whole human body, heart, and spirit. And when we combine both knowledge and practice the way people did in the old days, the prayer begins to come alive. When we begin the prayer with the two words, Our Father, most of us are used to reading them as a polite form of address. But if we go back to the original language, we will see that we have missed the most essential thing. The word our in English is only a possessive pronoun, a collective possessive word. But in Aramaic, the language Jesus spoke, the word used here is not merely a communal address. It is an affirmation that all of us are woven from the same source, the same breath, the same life field. Our does not separate, it connects. It does not categorize, it gathers. It breaks the illusion that we stand alone before a distant God. And the word Father, as translated into English, locks the listener into the image of an authoritative man sitting on a cloud. But the word Jesus used was Abun or Abba, a soft, round word that carries both mother and father together, both source and breath, both embrace and sustaining life present in every living thing. It is not merely father by gender. It is root, summit, place of beginning, support, the first breath of life. Put together, our Abun is not a title. It is a return. It tears away the picture of an old man with a long beard in the sky and draws us back to reality. The source is not up on a cloud, but in the very breath you have just taken. I want to tell you a short story to show the power of a change in how we read. A woman once shared with me that for many years, every time she read My Father, she felt she stood before a judge. She tried to do everything right, tried not to make mistakes, tried to appear worthy. The more she read, the lonelier she felt, as if there were an invisible distance between her and an all-powerful being who never truly drew near. One day, during a guided meditation of prayer, the leader asked the group to begin with "Our," and with just that one change, she began to cry. She said she felt, for the first time in her life, that she was no longer alone. It was no longer I trying to speak to Father, but we returning to the source together. In our, she recognized the sacred family she belonged to, not a family of blood, but a family of souls. People who seek, who ache, who love, who fail, who learn to rise. Our brought her back into an unseen community she had never known she had. And Abun made her realize that the source is not a person but the breath that has always lived in her chest. That single moment changed the way she prayed for the rest of her life. Now I want you to experience that directly, right here, in a few breaths. Sit with your spine straight, or stand if you prefer. Gently relax your shoulders. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, and as the air comes in, let your mind silently say, "Our," as if you are gathering all of humanity into this one breath. Hold the breath for 1 second, then exhale for 6 seconds, silently saying "Abun," as if you are returning this breath to the source that gave you life. Repeat the second round. Breathe in, "Our," and try to sense whether anyone else is breathing as you do. And the final round, exhale "Abun," feeling yourself supported from below as if the whole ground is breathing with you. Those 3 breaths are not a ritual. They are the original prayer practiced in the way people long ago practiced it, by experience, by feeling, by returning to life itself. When we read "Who art in heaven," most people immediately look up to the sky, as if God is out there on a distant heavenly tier, in a place higher, cleaner, and separated from human life. That image has been constructed over many centuries, but if we return to the time of Jesus, we see that he did not speak about a physical location. In Aramaic and also in Hebrew, heaven Shmaya does not only mean heaven as a place above, it means a dimension, a state, a realm. It is where consciousness touches purity, light, and wholeness that we already carry within. So when Jesus said, "Who art in heaven," he was not merely locating God. He was mapping a direction into your interior. He was not pointing up. All accounts show that he pointed to the person. He said, "The kingdom of God is within you." If so, heaven is not above you, but in the deepest part of yourself. It does not wait for the closing of the eyes to arrive. It can open as soon as you return to a state of wholeness in your soul. I want to tell a small story so you can feel this more clearly. There was a man I met at a retreat. He said that when he was a child, whenever adults spoke of heaven, he imagined a very beautiful garden with light pouring through a crack in the sky, with the smell of green leaves and a gentle breeze. But as he grew up, people told him, "Heaven is a place you will go if you live well." It became a distant reward, unreachable. He forgot that garden for many years. Then one day, in the darkest period of his life, he sat down, closed his eyes, and suddenly felt that old garden return. Not in imagination, but as a peaceful space opening in his chest. He said at that moment he finally understood Jesus. The kingdom does not come by observing from outside. It is within you. The garden had never gone. It was only covered by the noise of life. From the moment he understood that heaven is not far but a depth within, he no longer felt abandoned. He knew he had a place to return to, even while the world outside was chaotic. To let you experience that directly, I want you to try a short practice. Place your hand over the center of your chest, over the sternum. Relax your shoulders and slowly inhale for 6 seconds. As the breath comes in, imagine light flowing into you precisely at the spot under your hand. Hold the breath for 4 seconds, as if you are opening a door into a private place you once forgot. Then exhale very slowly for 8 seconds, letting the body lighten and your mind sink deeper. Continue a second round. Inhale 6 seconds, This time, notice if any images appear, perhaps light, perhaps a color, perhaps simply a sense of opening. Hold for 4 seconds, as if standing at the edge of a sanctuary. Exhale 8 seconds, allowing the body to step into that place. And one final round. Inhale. Feel the inner space slowly opening. Hold. Exhale and silently say, "Here." You do not go anywhere. You simply return to the place that has always been there. When we read, "Hallowed be thy name," most people understand it as a declaration of reverence. May your name be made holy. But that is only the surface. If we enter the ancient languages, especially Hebrew and the Jewish theological tradition, name is not simply a label. It is a frequency, a vibration, the primal rhythm by which the universe operates. The ancients believed that the name of God is not a word but a sequence of vibrations. The tetragrammaton, YHWH, was not pronounced fully, not because of taboo, but because it cannot be pronounced like an ordinary word. It is formed from 4 consonants, and when people attempted to speak it, they said it resembled breath more than speech, a tone without form or grammar, yet carrying the primal quality of life. So when Jesus said, "Hallowed be thy name," he was not calling you to honor a title. He invited you to return to your original frequency, the one that rings in every unnoticed heartbeat. Hallowed does not mean something distant. It means to let it become bright, to let it be recognized, to let it be awakened. In other words, let the vibration of the source be awakened in you. This is not praise pointed upward, but an activation toward the spine and the breath. Understood in this deeper sense, you are not merely saying, "The name of God is holy." You are saying, "The primal vibration in me is being roused." To make this vibration clearer, let us return to the most basic experience every person is born with, the breath. When you inhale, the sound in your throat is almost like y, and when you exhale, it becomes w. Whether you believe in God or not, whether you belong to any religion, your breath still pronounces that name throughout your life, without stopping. Ancient Jewish people saw this as proof that all life is woven from the same sacred frequency. There is no need to call the name, no need to beg, no need for offerings. Simply by existing, you carry that name throughout your whole body. Some of the ancients reached such deep meditation that they described, when silence was long enough, feeling their spine lightly vibrate each time they silently voiced YHWH as a sequence of breaths. For many centuries, people kept that name so sacred that they would only whisper it in the sanctuary, sometimes not even speaking it with the mouth, only feeling it with the breath and the rhythm of the spine. They knew something we are trying to remember. The name is not a sound. The name is energy. The name is a frequency which, when touched, immediately draws a person back. So you can feel some of this vibration. We will do a simple practice. Sit or stand comfortably. Place your hand on your lower belly or on your chest, wherever you want to feel the vibration most clearly. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds. Exhale for 6 seconds. Then when you inhale again, do not try to make a loud sound. Only make a very soft hum in your throat, like a bee but quieter, and hold it for 2 seconds. You will feel a vibration spreading down into the throat, the breastbone, or the spine, depending on your body. Then exhale a long breath, letting the vibration drop down with it. Repeat the second round. Inhale for 4 seconds. Make a round warm sound in the mouth. Feel the vibration move into the jaw or the temples. Exhale gently, as if you are wiping dust from your heart. Final round. Inhale for 4 seconds, and this time make a very soft ah, like opening a door in your chest. As you exhale, imagine that frequency expanding from the back to the front of your chest, from top to bottom. Those 3 very small sounds, hum, ah, are not a ritual. They are the way your body remembers that vibration is the first language of the soul. This is the deepest meaning of the phrase, "Let the vibration of the source be bright again in me." When we utter the words, "Hallowed be thy name," most people think this is merely praise of a sacred title, but in the linguistic and symbolic context of Jesus' time, the word name does not mean a label the way we commonly use it. In Hebrew, name is essence, breath, the frequency from which life is formed. The tetragrammaton, the 4 letters that represent the name of God, was not pronounced as a whole spoken word, because by tradition that name was not a clear sound for human speech. It is a line of vibration, a delicate oscillation that the ancients felt with the breath rather than with language. That is why when Jesus said, "Hallowed be thy name," he did not mean, "May your name be made holy," but rather, "May the primal frequency of the source be awakened in me." Hallowed is not an upward-directed veneration. It is an invitation for the light within you to open, as if you are wiping away the dust covering an energy that already exists inside you. One of the easiest ways to understand this is to look at the breath. Each time you inhale, there is a very small sound in the throat, a soft hum, almost like a faint exhalation, not formed into words. When you exhale, there is a longer sound, like a gentle ha flowing out from the chest. Whether you follow a religion or not, your body produces these 2 sounds each time you breathe. The ancients saw this as evidence that life carries a sacred rhythm from the foundation. No need to speak loudly, no need to memorize words. Simply by being, you already carry the vibration of the name. The name is not in language. The name is in the vibration of life happening in your very body. The rabbis of old, in deep moments of meditation, did not speak the name of God with their lips. They simply listened to their breath and allowed their bodies to merge with that rhythm. Many described that when they sat long enough in silence, they felt the spine vibrate each time they released a soft hum, as if touching a layer of themselves that language could not reach. For them, the sacred name was not something distant, but something operating in every beat of their life, something they wanted to awaken, to make clear, bright, and living. Now you and I will try a simple practice to feel this vibration, not with reason, but with the body. Sit still or stand straight as you prefer. Inhale for 4 seconds, very gently. As the air comes in, allow the throat to make a small hum, enough that you feel a little vibration spreading down into the chest or belly. Hold the breath for 2 seconds, letting that vibration expand. Then exhale for 6 seconds, releasing a very soft ha, as if you are opening a door in the ribcage. Repeat the second round. Inhale with a very soft hum, then exhale with a very comfortable ha. Final round. Inhale once more. Feel the breath like a stream of light sliding into the body, and as you exhale, let the ha expand to the back. There is no need to try, no need to perform. Simply let the vibration happen as it is. When you say, "Hallowed be thy name," after you have felt this vibration, you will find the phrase is no longer praise only. It becomes an awakening. It is like whispering to your own soul, "Open, shine." Let this primal frequency return, and in that moment, you are no longer reciting the prayer as a ritual. You are living it, with breath, with body, and with the vibration returning from within. When Jesus said, "Thy kingdom come," he was not talking about some far place that people must wait until death to enter. He was not speaking of golden gates, angels, or a kingdom set on layers of clouds. In the language he used, kingdom does not mean a territory or a system, but a state. It is the presence of the source, the sacred order, the harmony between human consciousness and the deepest will of life. Thy kingdom come is not a plea of waiting. It is an activation. It does not point to the future, but draws the sacred future into your present. The kingdom is not a place you go. The kingdom is what you allow to appear through your actions, thoughts, and presence. Understood this way, This line becomes one of the most powerful in the entire prayer because it does not make you passively await salvation. It gives you the responsibility to be the doorway through which goodness enters the world. The kingdom does not fall from heaven, it passes through people. To feel this more clearly, imagine a very ordinary story. There was a man working in a tense environment where everyone competed, envied, and grew tired. Each day he came to work with a heaviness in his chest, just waiting for the time to end. He thought that to change the environment he had to change jobs, find somewhere kinder, go somewhere else. But one day, after hearing about Thy kingdom come as an inner reality, he tried something very small. He decided each day to do only one action that reflected the kingdom, a kind word, a moment of listening without judgment, a time standing up for a colleague, or simply keeping peace within himself even while the surroundings were chaotic. A strange thing happened. After a few weeks, the atmosphere shifted. Not everyone became angels, but the mood lightened. Arguments decreased. A few people began to follow his example. Then there were days when people entered the meeting room and said, "I do not know why, but it feels different here." He did not build a new kingdom. He only opened a small door, and the kingdom passed through it. So you see, sometimes one person choosing to embody goodness, not with words but with presence, changes the environment. This is the spirit of Thy kingdom come, not waiting for a power to descend, but agreeing to let that power pass through our lives. Now, I want you to try a practice that makes this phrase real and not theoretical. For the next 7 days, choose exactly one action that you consider an expression of heaven on earth. It does not have to be grand, it only needs to be real. It might be speaking truth in a situation you usually avoid. It might be forgiving someone 1% in your heart. It might be helping someone without asking for anything. It might be remaining calm in a tense conversation. It might be sitting quietly for 2 minutes to connect with the light in your chest before you begin your day. Just one action. And to help you truly notice the change, each evening write one line in your journal. Today, the kingdom passed through me by. After 7 days you will see something amazing. The kingdom is not far away. It appears once you agree to become the place it is born. And here is the deepest meaning. Thy kingdom come is not a supplication, it is a readiness. It is like standing in silence and saying, I agree to let the sacred pass through me. I agree to let this world have an additional point of light. I agree to let goodness find its way into this life through me. When this line becomes action, not just sound, you will see the kingdom was never far. It has always been waiting for you to open the door. You have arrived at the line, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And many people automatically understand that as surrender, as a kind of resignation, as if God's will is something imposed on human life. But in the original language Jesus used, the word will does not mean a command or a coercive power. The Aramaic word closest to what he meant is sayana, a word that points to divine intention, a creative longing, an impulse wanting to manifest what is beautiful and true. Will is not, you must obey. Will is more like a current that carries the natural direction of life toward wholeness, toward truth, toward clarity. Understood in this deeper way, Jesus' phrase is no longer a humbling before power, but a choice to harmonize with a stream of energy that already flows through the universe and through your own heart. This is not surrender in the sense of giving up. This is alignment, a straightening between your inner depth and your outward action. To feel this spirit, imagine the story of a woman I once met. She had been doing office work for more than 10 years. Steady job, steady pay, life without dramatic change. Yet every year she carried the same feeling. She was living someone else's life. Something inside kept tugging her in another direction, but she did not dare because it felt vague and risky. One day, during a retreat, The teacher spoke of will as a deep call, not a commanding voice but a soft whisper like breath that repeats over time. She recognized that she had been hearing that call for many years. She always wanted to do healing work, to support people through psychological crisis. It was not a passing thought but an undercurrent that had been pulling her. After that retreat, she did not quit her job immediately. She began with very small steps. She took a counseling course. She spent 1 hour each day reading material. She offered free listening support to some friends who needed it. As she took those small steps toward that direction, its rightness became clearer. There was no light from the sky, no miracle. There was only this. When she lived according to the inner call, she felt a deep peace, even though the future was uncertain. 1 year later, she changed careers completely. Looking back, she said, "I did not follow someone else's will. I simply aligned with the most sacred thing inside me. That is the spirit of 'Thy will be done.'" With Find Oversee, to help you put this line into practice, I want to teach a very simple but powerful discernment technique. Each time you face a decision, small or large, pause for a few seconds and ask yourself 3 questions. The first question: does this reflect the kingdom I want to bring into the world? If the act causes division, harm, or makes you lose light, the answer will reveal itself. The second question: does this preserve the dignity of myself and others? Divine intention never belittles anyone. If a choice forces you to trade away your inner quality, it is not sayana. And the third, most important question: does this align with the deepest yes inside me? You do not need a long explanation. When something is right, your body knows. Your chest opens, your breath deepens, your mind quiets. When something is wrong, your body tightens and you feel pulled backward. Trust that signal. When all 3 questions point in the same direction, you are aligned with the divine intention. To finish, let us do a short practice. Breathe in gently for 4 seconds, imagining a straight line running from your mind down through your chest to your lower belly. Hold the breath for 2 seconds to feel that line. Then exhale for 6 seconds, letting your body relax into that line. Again, inhale. Let the line grow brighter. Hold. Exhale and say silently, "I choose alignment." If you do this before each important decision, you will notice a strange but real thing. "Thy will be done" does not make you small. It makes you become the person you were always meant to be. When we read, "Give us this day our daily bread," most people think of physical food, bread, meals, material provision. But the word daily in the English translation actually comes from a very strange Greek word, epiousios. This word appears almost nowhere else in ancient Greek texts, which is why scholars have argued for centuries about its meaning. Some ancient translations rendered it as "for today," some as "for tomorrow," some as "sufficient for our needs." But many later scholars think the original sense is nearer to super necessary, beyond material, need, or belonging to the deepest nature of life. Under this understanding, Jesus was not only speaking about bread for the body, but about spiritual nourishment, that which feeds the soul each day. If you look at the Jewish religious context of his time, bread was not merely food. It was a symbol of presence, of life, of the sacred placed into ordinary life. In the Old Temple, there was an important rite, the bread of presence, also called the showbread. These were 12 loaves placed on a golden table in the holy place, always before God. They represented the 12 tribes of Israel and also signified the truth that humanity lives not only by food but by the presence of the source. That bread was not to be eaten in haste. It was prepared carefully, placed carefully, and replaced regularly, as a reminder that the presence of God must never become stale or tasteless. When Jesus said, "I am the bread of life," he did not mean he was food for the body, but that he was a sacred source that sustains the soul. And when he taught, "Give us this day our daily bread," he meant that each day the soul needs to be fed by that presence, not only the body. To make this clearer, imagine a very simple meal: a slice of bread, a piece of fruit, a spoonful of soup. If you eat in haste just to fill your stomach, it quickly becomes mechanical. But if you pause for a moment, look at it, feel it, touch it, and eat with gratitude, you will notice a difference. Not because the food changes, but because you have changed. I knew someone who did a very small practice for 30 days. Each morning before eating anything, she placed a small piece of bread in her hand and sat quietly for 15 seconds. She looked at it as if it were something sacred being offered into her hands. Then she ate slowly, feeling each motion and flavor. She discovered that what she received was not just nourishment, but a sense of being held, a reminder that she belongs to a deeper source. She said, "I did not just eat bread, I ate presence." That is the spirit of this line. The nourishment of the soul happens in the smallest moments when we allow life to become sacred. To let you experience that spirit, we will do a very simple ritual you can practice each morning in 3 to 5 minutes. Prepare a glass of water, or a small piece of bread, or whatever you have for your first bite. Place it in front of you. Before you touch it, look at it for 10 seconds. Do not analyze. Do not think. Just look. Then place your hand on your chest and say 3 silent thank yous. Thank you for life. Thank you for nourishment. Thank you for today. Then, if it is water, take a small sip and feel it travel down the throat. If it is bread, take a small piece and chew slowly, very slowly, as if each movement connects your body with gratitude. You do not need to be theatrical. You do not need to be holy. You just need to be present. This is daily bread. Not the slice of bread itself, but the waking presence you bring to the act of eating. That is the soul nourishment Jesus pointed to. And now for the deepest part. When you understand bread as presence, you will also understand why Jesus said something that makes many people pause. You are the light of the world. If he is the bread of life, those who follow him are not only recipients of bread, they become bread bearers. You do not merely receive nourishment. You become a source of nourishment for the world. You become bread. That does not mean you become a savior. It means that every kind act, every healing word, every moment you open your heart and help someone feel seen, all of that is bread. Each time you give that light, the world receives a portion of nourishment from you. To bring this into daily life, you can start with very small behaviors. Greet someone with sincerity rather than indifference. Send a message to a friend you know is struggling. Listen without interrupting. Place a hand on the shoulder of someone who is trembling. Smile at a stranger. No action is too small. Bread does not need to be grand. Bread simply needs to be real. Each time you give something that helps another person feel upheld, you are bringing the bread of presence into the world. And that is the deepest meaning of the line. "Give us this day our daily bread" is not only a request, it is a reminder. It reminds us to receive nourishment from the presence of the source each day, and at the same time, to become nourishment for the world. When you live this way, ordinary moments become rituals, and each day becomes a new loaf placed on the sacred table of life. When we say, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors," many people immediately think of sin or moral wrongdoing. But in the ancient language and in the way Jewish people of that time understood it, debts are not only financial obligations or moral faults, they are bindings, leftover energetic charge that has not been released, invisible commitments that you and others have accidentally created, an unspoken apology, an unhealed wound, a relationship that has frozen. All of these are debts. Each debt carries an invisible cord. If you hold it, it holds you. Therefore, forgive in this prayer does not mean forget, nor does it mean deny the truth. It means release, to let go of the cord, to untie the knot, to return freedom to the heart that it deserves. And the most important part lies in the word as. When you forgive others, you open the door for yourself. This is the mirror law. You cannot be freed from what you still clutch in others. Forgiveness is not a moral action. Forgiveness is an act of liberation. To make this clearer, imagine the story of a man I once knew. He carried bitterness toward his older brother for more than 30 years. When they were young, they had been business partners, and his brother betrayed him in a deal that left him ruined. Although he passed through many seasons of life, he still carried that bitterness like a stone in his chest. He often said he had let it go, but each time the story was mentioned, his body tightened and his voice grew heavy. One day, when he began to have health problems, insomnia, high blood pressure, chronic gastritis, the doctor told him to reduce stress. But the stress did not come from work, it came from a story that had never ended. A close friend suggested he try writing down what he had never said to his brother. For several weeks he wrote letters and sent them to no one, simply to speak the compressed feelings out loud. One night, when he wrote, "I return this matter to you. I do not want to carry it anymore," he cried like a child. He said he felt a knot in his chest open. Strangely, after that moment, sleep returned slowly. His stomach pain eased, and his heart felt much lighter. The remarkable thing is that he did not meet his brother again. He did not seek apology. He did not reconcile. Yet he had liberated himself from a debt he had been holding far too long. Forgiveness does not require the other person to participate. Forgiveness is what you do for your own heart. Now I want to guide you through a gentle but deep forgiveness practice. Prepare a sheet of paper or a note on your phone. Sit quietly for a few seconds. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds and exhale for 6 seconds to soften the body. Then ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Who is the person I still carry even though I think I have let go? 2. What have I never said not to them, but to myself? 3. Is there a part of that story that is still keeping me? Write without censoring. No need to be pretty, no need for logic. Just be honest. After you finish writing, place your hand on your chest and try a simple technique called Speak to the Wound. Read the passage you wrote silently, as if you are speaking to the wounded part inside you, not to the person who caused harm, but to the wound itself. Say gently, "I see you, I understand you, and now I return you to ease." Then inhale slowly for 4 seconds and exhale long for 8 seconds, as if you are releasing an invisible cord from your chest. Repeat 3 rounds. The first round to acknowledge, the second to loosen the knot, the third to release. When you finish, you do not need to feel completely light immediately. Forgiveness is a process, but each time you do this, you loosen one more cord, and at some point, you will notice the cord is no longer there. Finally, the most important aspect of this line is the two-way exchange. As we forgive. It means the freedom we receive is the freedom we give. When we stop keeping others trapped in the old story, we also stop keeping ourselves stuck in the old version. Forgiveness does not make us weak. Forgiveness returns us to the purity of the heart. And when the heart is freed, the whole life is freed with it. When we read, "Lead us not into temptation," many people think Jesus is teaching us to beg not to fall into sin or immoral pleasures. But in Greek, the word translated temptation is peirasmos, and its original sense is not moral temptation. It means a test, a trial, or a stage of inner proving. The temptation Jesus speaks of is not chocolate, lust, or trivial vices. It is a deeper danger, power arriving too early, glory coming before maturity, a shortcut appearing before the soul is deep enough to hold it safely. This is the most subtle temptation because it does not present as something bad. It often comes as opportunity, as reward, as the right thing, at the wrong time. And this is what makes it dangerous. If it arrives when you are not yet steady, it does not lift you up. It breaks you from within. Imagine the story of a young artist with prodigious talent. She spent many years training, patiently improving a little at a time. Then one day, a big opportunity appeared. An invitation to collaborate with a famous company promising quick fame. But the price was that she had to change her artistic style, chase popular taste, and abandon the deepest values of her creativity. From the outside, it was a golden opportunity, but inside, she felt something off, not because the opportunity was evil, but because it came before she was ready, and it required her to compromise what she treasured most. She almost accepted because who would refuse easy success? But the night before signing the contract, she sat with herself and asked, if I take this path, am I being raised, or are my true lines being pulled crooked? The answer appeared clearly. She declined. 6 months later, she produced a work recognized by the community, not because she chased trends, but because she remained absolutely true to her nature. She said, "The greatest temptation is not evil. It is the good that comes at the wrong time." This is the spirit of Peirasmos. The trial is not to make you fall, but to see whether you are strong enough not to trade your soul for ease. To confront this kind of temptation clearly, practice a very simple but highly effective technique. The next time you face an opportunity, an invitation, or a choice that makes you hesitate, pause for exactly 3 seconds. In that 3 seconds, ask silently, is this a shortcut? If you feel it pushes you toward a quick but inauthentic result, that is a sign of Peirasmos. After that question, inhale slowly for 4 seconds and exhale for 6 seconds. Breath is not only to calm, it brings you back to yourself so you can hear where the true rightness lies. Repeat this breathing cycle 3 times. That is enough. You will hear the deepest part of you speak. Inner truth never shouts, but when you quiet down, it always speaks clearly, and that is the essence of this line. Lead us not into temptation is not a plea to avoid evil. It is a reminder to remain vigilant before shortcuts, easy offers, and shiny opportunities that pull you away from the soul. It teaches you to stand firm, not to avoid trials, but to pass through them without losing your true nature. When we read, "Deliver us from evil," most people think of darkness, demons, or external threats. But in the original language, the word evil is poneros, and its meaning is not the popular image of the devil. Poneros means that which wounds, that which erodes, the energy that wears the soul down over time. Evil, in its deepest sense, is not an external entity. It is an unhealed wound, a distorted story about oneself, an identity formed from pain rather than truth. It is when you believe you are not enough, unworthy, incapable of change because someone or something has carved those lines into you. And the word deliver does not only mean to rescue, as in pulling out of danger. It also means to reclaim, to liberate, to retake what belongs to you. In other words, free me from the false story that pain has written over my life. Crosset. One of the clearest examples of poneros is generational trauma. I once heard the story of a young woman who grew up in a family where 3 generations carried the same belief. Women in this family never find full happiness. Her grandmother had been abandoned, her mother lived in a marriage filled with hurt, and although she tried to live differently, she found herself repeating their choices, choosing partners who diminished her, entering relationships that made her lose herself. One day, in therapy, she realized that what had been directing her life was not her essence, but the story that family pain had transmitted down. When she cried and said, "I do not want to carry this anymore," that was the moment she began to be delivered, not by someone outside, but by the truth she had just spoken. When she returned that story to the past, she reclaimed her identity. From then on, she began to build a life based not on wound but on the truth that she was worthy of a different love. Deliverance is not a miracle. It is the return of the sacred self. To feel this not only with the mind but with experience, we will do a short practice. Stand up or sit with a straight spine, whichever makes you feel steady. Inhale for 4 seconds. Exhale for 6 seconds so the body settles. Then place your hand on your chest and say silently, "I return the stories that are not mine." Pause a moment. Inhale again and continue. "I refuse the identity born of pain." Notice where that sentence touches your body. Then exhale very slowly and say, "I take myself back." Repeat this cycle 3 times. Each round is not an outward declaration, but an inner act. You are cutting a cord that the wound once used to hold you. If you practice this for a few consecutive days, you will notice something strange. It is not the outside world that changes, but the way you stand in that world. When you reclaim your true identity, Poneros no longer has purchase in your life. And that is the deepest meaning of this line. Deliver us from evil is not a plea to be sheltered from danger. It is a proclamation that you do not belong to pain, to old stories, or to distorted identities. It is a declaration of rebirth. Bring me back to myself. The journey you have just taken is not only for intellectual understanding. From the beginning, this prayer was designed to be lived, to be breathed, to be brought into each day. Therefore, the most important part of this whole video is the 30-day pathway. This is the structure that helps you turn knowledge into experience, turn understanding into transformation. The pathway is divided into 4 parts, 3 core weeks, and a 4th week for integration. Each week focuses on a layer of the prayer: breath and noticing, activation of name and kingdom, release and rebirth, and finally living the transformation in real life. Each day has a small exercise, simple enough that you will not give up, yet deep enough that each day you feel closer to your source. You do not need iron discipline, you only need presence. By practicing step by step, you will see the prayer become a reality rather than remain on a page. Week 1 is the week of noticing and breath. For 7 days you will relearn Our Father as an experience, not a phrase. On the first day, spend 3 minutes breathing with rhythm. Inhale 4 seconds with the word Our in the mind. Exhale 6 seconds with the word Source. No sound is required, only attention. On the second day, spend 5 minutes writing out the people you feel are your soul community, not acquaintances, but those you sense a deep, essential connection with. On the third day, take a few seconds before each task to whisper Our under your breath, reminding yourself you belong to a larger current than the ego. On the 4th day, practice the 6-4-8 breath to feel the space in your chest, as you did earlier with the Heaven Within practice. On the 5th day, spend 3 minutes with your eyes closed and ask, "What in me still believes God is far away?" Then write 1 line in response. On the 6th day, choose a moment in the day to notice the inner kingdom opening in a very ordinary action: washing your hands, stepping into the sunlight, drinking water. On the 7th day, summarize. In this week, where did you feel less alone? When you complete week 1, you will have touched the foundation. Breathing as prayer, presence as ritual, and recognizing that you belong to the source. Week 2 is the week of activating name and kingdom. Each day you will practice a small piece related to vibration and manifestation. The first 3 days focus on "Hallowed be thy name." Each morning spend 2 minutes making a very light, vibrating sound, a soft hum on the inhale and a gentle hey on the exhale. Keep it quiet, just enough to feel vibration in the chest. Then silently say, "Let the name awaken in me." The next 3 days focus on Thy kingdom come. Each day, choose one small action that makes the world a little brighter. Offer a word of encouragement, help someone who needs it, or simply keep peace within yourself in a tense situation. Each evening write one line, "Today the kingdom passed through me by." On day 7, choose one single quality you want to manifest in the month. Not an ambition, but something you believe reflects the kingdom, such as peace, clarity, love, or truth. Sit quietly for 2 minutes and say silently, "Let it come through me." This is not a request, this is an agreement. Week 3 is the week of forgiveness and release. This is the strongest week, and also the week that softens the heart. On the first day, write a list of the people or stories you still carry. Just write, without judgment. On the second day, pick one small item on the list and write a short passage about your true feeling. Do not send it to anyone. Write it for yourself. On the third day, use the speak to the wound technique. Place your hand on your chest and read what you wrote silently, as if speaking to the wounded part inside. On the fourth day, breathe 3 long rounds and say, "I return the stories that are not mine." On the 5th day, choose a small act of service, not to please others, but to open your heart. Help someone carry something. Listen for 10 minutes. Message a friend who may need warmth. On the 6th day, write a short paragraph about the identity you want to reclaim, an identity born from truth rather than pain. On the 7th day, spend 5 minutes noticing what has been loosened inside you this week. This is the week of freeing invisible cords, so you can enter week 4 with a lighter heart. Week 4 is the integration week and the living of the prayer. This is the week you bring everything learned into real life. Your work, your relationships, the way you speak, the way you show up. For the first 3 days, observe yourself in conversations and ask, "Am I speaking from fear or from the kingdom?" This is not judgment, only recognition. The next 3 days, apply the 4-2-6 breath and the phrase, "Let me align," before small decisions during the day. You will notice yourself slowing down but going deeper. On the final day, spend 10 minutes writing answers to 3 questions. Where have I changed? What do I want to carry into the next month? What is one concrete action I will sustain? When you complete this week, the prayer will no longer be outside you. It will have become a life rhythm. This 30-day pathway is not about finishing. It is about beginning. Each small step you take is how you reclaim your brightness, and each day, the kingdom becomes not something to wait for, but something you bring into the world. An Min once told me that for many years he recited this prayer as a habit passed down in his family. He read it before sleep, in church, and in hard times, but the more he read, the emptier he felt. He said he was like someone talking to a wall, without connection, without life. Until one day, in a moment of quiet, he tried reading the first line with real attention. "Our Father." He felt his chest open, not from sudden emotion, but because for the first time he felt he belonged to something larger than himself. After several weeks of practicing the Our Source breathing, he began to notice that each line of the prayer touched a piece in him that had been asleep. He said he no longer recited the prayer waiting for a miracle. He recited it like returning home. His emptiness turned into warmth without any supernatural sign. The thing that changed was not the prayer, but the manner in which he entered it. The second story belongs to a small neighborhood group. They were neighbors, not clergy, not part of any religious organization, but after hearing "Thy kingdom come" as an action rather than a recited line, they decided to try it for a month. Each person chose a small daily action. One person cleaned the street in front of his home. One person prepared several food boxes to share with night laborers. Another person spent 10 minutes each day calling someone who might be lonely. They set no grand goal, only the practice of letting goodness pass through them. After 1 month, they were surprised. The atmosphere in the neighborhood had shifted. Neighbors talked more. Tensions between a few families eased. Children played together more safely. No one declared they were building a kingdom, but their actions made the community noticeably brighter. The kingdom did not arrive from above. It arrived through how each person chose to be present. The third story is of a woman named H, who carried a childhood wound. She grew up with a strict father whose cold words became an inner voice for many years. "You are not good enough." Although she matured and found career success, she still lived with the fear of making mistakes and self-blame whenever she failed. When she learned the forgiveness ritual practice, she began to write what she had never said, that she still carried her father's voice like a shadow. She placed her hand on her chest, read her lines silently, and then exhaled with the phrase, "I return what is not mine." She did this for 7 days. On the 8th day, she said that when the familiar critical voice appeared, instead of shrinking, she stood firmer, as if that voice no longer belonged to her. She did not change the past, but she liberated herself from the story the past had imposed. From these 3 stories, we see one thing. The prayer truly lives when it touches real life. When the breath changes, actions change, and the heart begins to lighten. That is when the prayer becomes living life. One question many people ask is this approach against the church? The answer is no. The goal of this entire journey is not to break religion, but to expand the space for inner experience. The church preserves tradition, community, and ritual. A depth reading of the prayer helps the individual understand themselves more fully. These two are not opposed. Tradition provides form, experience provides life. When we speak about Aramaic, about symbols, about breath, we are only answering a question many people have carried for a long time. Why does this prayer touch me, yet I have never been explained it in a way that opens my heart? This is a supplement, not a confrontation. The second question is there any scholarly evidence for the word epiousios, or is this only a spiritual interpretation? Biblical scholars from Origen to Raymond Brown have all acknowledged that epiousios is a unique word, appearing in no other Greek text. Some translate it as daily, some as for the coming day. But an important line of research suggests that the word carries the meaning of nourishment beyond the physical, based on its usage in ancient Latin translations, such as supersubstantialem. What we are doing is not changing the text, but looking at the entire spectrum of interpretations, from traditional to academic, in order to understand its depth. When we place the bread of presence within the Jewish context, we clearly see that the sacred meaning of bread has existed for a very long time, not as a modern invention. Another common question arises: how can we practice deeply without turning it into excessive mysticism? This is an important question. The spirit of this prayer is not to chase unusual experiences, but to make ordinary life more bright and meaningful. The way to stay balanced is to always place 2 elements side by side: inner practice, breath, noticing, forgiveness, and ethical living, helping, serving, honesty. If a practice makes you withdraw from everyday life or makes you avoid responsibility, it is not the right practice. But if it helps you speak more gently, live more kindly, and make clearer decisions, then you are moving in the right direction. There is no need to over-mystify anything. Just be honest with your experience. Finally, there are short but important questions. What if I do not believe in God? Can this pathway still apply? The answer is yes. Everything you are learning can be understood in any language: source, life, sky, the depth of consciousness. Whatever name you choose, the part inside you that responds to truth is the human part that everyone has. And another question: is this kind of practice psychologically safe? The answer is yes, as long as you go at your own pace. All the exercises are gentle: breathing, writing, noticing emotion, choosing one good action. If you encounter strong emotions, all you need to do is pause, breathe, and return when ready. There is no force. This is not deep therapy, but spiritual and emotional care through small steps. The most important thing is that the dialogue stays open. You have the right to question, to doubt, to verify. This journey does not demand belief, it simply invites experience. And then you will know for yourself what is true for you. When you have come to the end of this journey, there are 3 core messages to hold on to. The first is origin. The prayer is not only text, but a source, a place where each line leads you back to your sacred essence. The second is vibration. Every word in the prayer carries not only meaning, but frequency. When you read with breath and presence, the words begin to resonate with you and illuminate the deepest part of the soul. The third is embodiment. The prayer truly lives only when it goes beyond the mouth and becomes breath, action, forgiveness, choice, kindness, and honesty that you bring into each day. Origin reminds you of where you come from. Vibration reminds you of what you are connected to. Embodiment reminds you that you were born to carry what is sacred into real life. Now we will enter a 10-minute journey, a short experience that is enough for you to feel the entire prayer through body and mind. Find a quiet place to sit. Keep your back straight but soft. When ready, inhale for 4 seconds and exhale for 6 seconds. Repeat for 3 rounds so the body can settle. When your breath is steady, place your attention on a point in the center of your chest. Silently say, "Hour." Inhale gently, then exhale and silently say, "Source." Feel the space in the chest opening like an old room being lit for the first time. After several breaths, shift to a very soft, vibrating tone, a faint hum when you inhale and a quiet hey when you exhale. It does not need to be loud, only enough for you to feel the vibration touch the throat and chest. Keep this rhythm for 1 minute. Next, imagine that in front of you is a doorway leading into the heaven within, not a location but a state of clarity, purity, and stillness. Inhale deeply and imagine stepping into that light. As you exhale, let every tension fall to the ground like dust that no longer clings to you. Now place your hand on your chest and ask silently, "In what way can the kingdom pass through me today?" Wait a moment. The answer is usually very small: a kind action, a gentle word, an honest choice. When the answer appears, silently say, "Let it come through me." Then we move to release. Bring to mind a story or a pain you still carry. You do not need details, only a sense of it like a shadow. Inhale and silently say, "I see you." Hold for 2 seconds. Then exhale and say, "I return what is not mine." Repeat for 3 rounds. In the final round, say, "I take back my true self." End with 1 long, deep breath, as if you have just stepped out of a narrow doorway and into a wider space. If you want to continue this journey, download the 30-day pathway in the description. If you want to walk with others who are awakening, join the community group. And if something in this video helped you remember a part of yourself that had been asleep, leave a comment that says, "I remember." Do not forget to subscribe so you do not miss the next steps of this path.